If you're an internet user, your traffic passes through us.
So it's the electricity or the lifeline.
Exactly. We see more internet traffic than any other company on the planet.
You chose to be the chief AI officer and not appoint one. Why did you decide so?
If you truly believe that AI is an existential threat or the biggest opportunity for the company, then AI is not a side strategy, it is the strategy of the company. Secondly, if it is the strategy of the company, it is the CEO's job, by the way, to ensure that allocation of resources is aligned to that strategy.
Do you believe AI reduces the work that humans do, or do you think that it will fundamentally change what people get paid to do?
It's more the latter. You and I do a lot of bullshit work every day. And AI, just having machines do that for us is an incredible thing. We're going to see a lot more unemployment than we have seen in the past, and therefore we need to be able to provide universal basic income.
Today on the ET AI podcast, we are with one of the most influential tech leaders of the world, Abhijit Dubey. He is the president and CEO as well as chief AI officer at NTT DATA Inc, a $19 billion global tech powerhouse that runs mission-critical systems for governments, banks, hospitals, and some of the world's biggest companies. A Jamshedpur boy who studied at IIT Mumbai and later at Stanford, he also worked at McKinsey for many years. And today, he leads one of the world's top IT services company. He has had a remarkable journey all along. But now he's betting big on AI, not in theory, but as a technology practitioner. He believes AI can change how people live, work, learn, and even stay healthy. Today's conversation is about how AI will impact your job, your city, and your future. Welcome to the ET AI podcast, Abhijit. Thank you so much for taking time out today with us.
Thank you for having me. It was a very generous introduction, I must say.
Well, you got to be generous with AI because the world is looking up to you and people like you. Let me start with a little warm-up question for you. If you met someone at the airport and you're sitting at a lounge having a cup of coffee and they have nothing to know about you and they want to know more about you, how would you introduce yourself to them?
Global citizen, lived and worked in 4 continents, driven by curiosity.
In the curious part of your life that you're living every day, what is the most pertinent question or problem that you're trying to solve?
Right now? Gosh. Professionally, how to navigate the AI technological revolution for the company. Personally, what this means for the future of society.
For us in India, NTT Data is more about connecting companies' services, but not so much on the consumer level. So if I were to first, ask you, how do you explain what is NTT Data and how does it impact a consumer's life?
By the way, we used to be the consumer business outside of Japan. So we've been in the consumer business in Japan for a long time as NTT. NTT is a $100 billion plus conglomerate, been around for 150 plus years. And as with many Japanese companies, NTT started globalizing, when it was very clear that the Japanese economic trajectory was going to go in a certain direction given the demographic trends in the country. And that was happening in the mid-90s. Actually, it was here in India. So the first attempt at globalization was in consumer mobile because NTT Docomo in Japan was one of the dominant and one of the best performing mobile carriers. And that was our first taste of global markets in consumer. Tata Docomo was the one that was launched here. We wish it had been the story had ended differently. It was not as successful as I'd imagined. But we restarted our global expansion journey in 2007. And since then, we've gone from almost nothing outside Japan to almost a $19 billion company right now. Now, to your specific question is, what do we do that touches people's lives? We're effectively providing digital and AI-ready infrastructure. So we do data centers, submarine cable, IP backbone. if you're an internet user, your traffic passes through us.
So it's the electricity or the lifeline.
Exactly. We see more internet traffic than any other company on the planet. A fact that is not very well known.
Right. So you're on the cyber highway, so to say, enabling it.
We're enabling it.
Right.
And then, we also provide technology services to public sector and private sector clients. And a lot of them, in your opening address, you said it's mission critical, and it is truly mission critical. Like when we provide services to hospitals, it is directly impacting a patient experience. When we're, providing digital citizen services and building those experiences for public sector clients, you are using it as a consumer. When we are providing digital experiences that we are building for, soccer clubs like Arsenal, which is something that we're doing, that as a fan, they have 75 million fans globally. That's what you get to experience, but we are the engine behind it.
Oh, you're behind all the entertainment.
We are behind a lot of
all the healthcare hospital, so many governments. Now we know what's running us. Thanks a lot. So with NTT, and tell me if the acronym is spelled correct. I mean, is it Nippon Telegraph and Telephony, or is it changed now?
We have just changed it. It's just NTT.
It's just NTT.
Yes.
But the origins were
Nippon Telephone, Telegraph and Telephone. It started as the original telegraph company in Japan back in the 1850s.
Retaste a bit of journey of NTT. Let's come to your journey. You start your life in Jamshedpur. You go up to IIT Mumbai, where we're recording this today, nearby your institute, and you head to then Stanford. You further...
Slight detour, actually. I went to Northern Africa, where I worked in the oil fields, doing oil exploration as part of when I joined a French company called Schlumberger.
All right.
And then I went to Stanford.
Then you went to Stanford, and then you head to McKinsey.
Correct.
At McKinsey, you come across an interesting company which you serve as one of your clients, which is NTT.
Yep.
Somewhere along the journey, they fall in love with you, and they call you to become a CEO. How did that happen?
Yeah, listen, I think, serendipity is an amazing thing. So you reflect back on the past. And as with a lot of things, sometimes it's by chance. So I remember distinctly, getting a call from the McKinsey head of telco and telecom about a McKinsey team in Japan that needed some help on a project that they had just started. And that project was, again, thinking about the global expansion for NTT. And, one of the things that had values that have always guided me, and McKinsey was very good about this, is we were a global partnership, we collaborated. And so I immediately jumped and helped the team. And in that context, I ended up meeting the core client who was responsible for the global expansion in the NTT group. And that's how the journey started, to be honest. And what I particularly liked about that was, the aspiration. The aspiration was the global business outside of Japan has to become as meaningful as the Japan business, and at some point has to be equal sized. And that was a pretty bold aspiration for, at that time, $100 billion plus revenue conglomerate. And that excited me. And so, I spent the next 10 years helping architect sort of this global expansion journey. And then, we bought a lot of companies, we consolidated a lot of companies. And then in
all of this while you were at McKinsey?
Yeah, the first 10 years. Yeah, so from 2011 to 2021.
Interesting. The other word that you use is serendipity. Quite modest of you to say that it was sheer serendipity that led you to become the CEO. Many would brag the right, saying, I earned it because I deserved it. But thanks for being upfront and honest. When I'm just still at the past and your life at Jamshedpur, which is part of Jharkhand now, if I can ask you, what part of your early life in Jharkhand still influences you the way you lead today?
I have one motto in life, which the motto came later in life, but I have realized that it actually happened very early in my formative years. And the motto is, actually there are two mottos, but I'll talk about one. It's a quote from Nelson Mandela. And what he said was, it always seems impossible until it's done. I don't know if you've heard
Yeah.
it. And, I picked it up when the first time I was in Johannesburg. But that is something that I realized happened very early in life, because I remember my parents, we grew up in a modest household, but my parents always saying, you dream and aspire, right? And you have the ability to create your own journey. And, there's always this challenge, and, this is very common, by the way, so I'm no way unique in that respect. But it was this belief that, you can craft your own personal journey. And if you put in the hard work, you will achieve what you set out to do. And it has definitely played out that way, in a way. So that's been one of the most formative experiences. I remember my dad, even when I was very young, telling my sister, who's older than myself, and that if we really wanted a different trajectory, we really needed to get into IITs and we needed to get a good rank. That's a pretty common conversation that was common at the time and it still is, right?
Still is.
But the belief that you can do it without any of the tooling and the support, we never did any coaching or any of that sort, right? Was something that has stayed with me. And it was pretty formative because you can do it and you have to dream big. That's sort of what I took away from it.
It's ironical. You start your life in Jamshedpur, you picked up lessons in Johannesburg, leads you to run a company which is based in Japan. You go to the J in you. Let's see where it takes you next. Okay, I'm going to now jump to the core of the podcast, which is AI. Right now, AI is moving incredibly fast. The amount of versions that ChatGPT alone is throwing at, Claude and various others who are in the business of LLM and consumer-facing AI. It's so fast that it's at times threatening, at times confusing. For engineers today, working professionals today, managers today, they're worried how soon and how fast should we adopt, because programmers who are basing on a particular model and LLM, suddenly a new version comes and their entire hard work goes. They might be coding through AI, but they still consider it hard work that goes down the drain because a new version is up there. More so, they're worried that it's running at a pace where everyone's now begun to believe, is it a bubble, is it a fad? You, in a way, are also betting the company and the career on AI. What worries you and how do you prepare for it? Because therein, my assumption lies the lesson, what others need to learn and understand from you.
Yeah, I think, it's not just our industry. Every technological revolution brings with it the potential to destroy you or creates incredible opportunities to create the next version of you that's even bigger, better, faster than what you had created to date. And AI just happens to be the biggest of such revolutions that at least you and I will see in our lifetimes, and probably I would argue in the last 200 to 300 years at least, especially if not all of humankind. And there is no playbook. There is no blueprint. That's breaking news perhaps, but there is no playbook. If anybody claims they have the playbook and the blueprint, it doesn't exist.
You're ready to write one?
Well, history will tell.
Okay.
But there are certain things that are important. I always view, people talk about development and leadership characteristics or attributes that you want. There's the content part of it. There's the skills part of it. The content, to your point, engineers have to learn new models. That's content. But there are skills, and there are skills that are going to be even more important in the future and are more important in the future than they have ever been. This notion of the curiosity to learn, the ability to reinvent yourself, the ability to be resilient, the ability to be adaptable. These are attributes that are absolutely required. The ability to problem solve critically, the ability to actually work in a complex setting that is humans plus machines, right? All of these things, I think, have been important skill sets that individuals needed to have, and I think will become even more important.
All right. So they were always required before AI, but it's even more important.
Even amplified in terms of what's required for success. And that is something that I think, every single one of us myself included, by the way, have to work towards. Being resilient, being adaptable, reinventing yourself. And that takes effort.
So be ready for all the effort and hard work.
That's the only key to success.
Even if AI can code all the codes that you want
key to success I know of.
You often spoken about, AI eventually running all the workflows end to end. Do you believe AI reduces the work that humans do, or do you think that it will fundamentally change what people get paid to do?
It's more the latter.
Okay.
I think, there's a joy aspect of AI because it reduces a lot of the bullshit work that we end up doing. Sorry for that term. You and I do a lot of bullshit work every day. And AI, just having machines do that for us is an incredible thing. The creative aspects of it, the pattern, machines are incredibly good at pattern recognition, but they're not very good at pattern recognition of emotions. Right? And so that emotional pattern recognition is something that I think maybe they will get there at some point, but it's at least not in the foreseeable horizon. But those are things that I think will continue to be extremely important. And so the way we work, what we do, and how we do it is going to change.
And you'll get paid more or less basis that?
That remains to be seen.
Okay.
I think there is a thesis in Silicon Valley that's getting a lot of traction right now, which is we're going to see a lot more unemployment than we have seen in the past, and therefore we need to be able to provide universal basic income. I happen to be on the yes camp on that one, right? Because there will be a dislocation in the labor markets, not in the next 3 to 5 years, but sort of in the 5 to 25 year time frame. And after that, I think the market will settle. We'll settle into a new normal. And that 5 to 25 years is going to be the critical part where we have to make sure that that generation actually is successfully navigated into that. And the AI has the incredible potential of doing amazing things like discovery of new stuff, materials and drugs. AI has the potential to really improve healthcare and education outcomes, especially in underserved communities. I didn't use the word countries, but communities, because there are underserved communities even in very highly developed countries like the US. And we do have a shortage of professionals in education and healthcare. And we have showed every time that if you improve education and healthcare outcomes for young children and pregnant mothers, the whole economy thrives. We have showed that, right? So AI has the potential to do an incredible amount of good, but it also has the potential to create dislocations in the labor market. And we just have to be cognizant that it doesn't create more inequality in the world. Because if it creates more inequality in the world, it generally does not end up.
So all the investment chasing right now, the AI-led tech bubble, so to say, or the investments going into building the infrastructure, maybe some portion of it should be allocated, building a social security benefit sorts or a UBI
fund. Or whatever it is, but I think we have to find a mechanism to redistribute wealth. See, AI is a fundamentally different technological revolution than anything else we have seen in the recent past. A lot of the innovations that we have seen in the recent past have been human ingenuity-led. AI is a capital-led innovation. The more capital you throw at the problem, the better it gets, theoretically, right? We'll see if there's a law of diminishing returns. And when capital-led innovation happens, it tends to concentrate power and wealth in very, very few places.
Okay.
And that's what makes this inequality issue much, much bigger. That really needs to be solved and thought through.
In the world of AI, there needs to be a bit of pathos, emotional intelligence to plan ahead as well.
Correct.
Good. Thanks for that. It's not a new, but it's an interesting aspect that you bring about. And once again, I'd say you're being honest and forthright about it. Not many people who profess the use of AI are also considering this aspect. So I'm glad to hear this thought alongside all the developments that you're doing around. Let me come to India. You said India is on the track to become one of your top 5 members
Yep.
in terms of revenue or market share. Where is the demand in India coming from? What kind of services? Is it healthcare, financial? Is it anything else that we aren't aware of? Where do you see India demand coming from?
Yeah, so for us, obviously we also provide digital and AI infrastructure in the form of data centers, etc. So that's a huge growth vector for us. We've been number one in the market for a long time, and there's a lot of new entrants, of course, and that's generally, I view that as a good thing. It validates the market and expands the market. And then on the technology services side, I think we see a demand. Of course, the financial institutions, of course, the healthcare institutions, to some extent public sector as well. So there's a variety of different sectors of manufacturing, I think, and some of the industrials as well, which are emerging now. And in terms of capabilities, it's across the board, right? So whether it's in cybersecurity, I see a big opportunity. There's a lot of talk now about private and sovereign infrastructure for the country.
True.
Which has two aspects to it. One is the sovereignty of the data, and the other aspect is the strategic autonomy that all countries want in terms of the technology stack that underpins it. That requires real expertise to deploy. We have all of those capabilities, so I feel pretty optimistic about it.
Isn't it deja vu? All of these terms were prevalent in the cloud era also.
Yes.
Sovereign cloud, private cloud, on-prem, off-prem.
Yes, but the strategic autonomy is new.
All right.
And that's driven by the new geopolitical reality.
True.
That did not exist in the cloud world.
All right. So at least there's some new contribution through AI. India is building data centers at a record speed. You're putting data centers, and your recent investment of 2,400 crore, now that the number is public. One thing they say about data centers is it's extremely energy hungry.
Yep.
Needs continuous supply of electricity, which in some parts of this nation is in short supply, if I may say. And there are climate implications around it. How does India and how do you at NTT try and balance the need for this continuous energy demand, environment footprint, carbon footprint, as well as balance it with the growth that is coming as well as required for the nation?
Yeah, it's an inherent trade-off. So, a few years ago, before AI was a thing, we publicly committed that we'd be 100% renewable energy in our data centers by 2030. That was in an era when we were growing 15%. Now we're growing 25% plus, and we haven't changed. So the key is then to really continue to live that philosophy. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that, it's not always the best economic decision, given the context that we are in every single market. But it is the best decision, considering sustainability concerns. And as a Japanese company that has been around for 150 years and really believes in this principle of what you may have heard of called Sanpo Yoshi, which is 300 plus years old, which effectively means good three ways: good for supplier, good for buyer, good for community. And that ethos is very embedded into a Japanese company, especially in NTT. And that is something we live very dearly. We try to live it every day. And so we've taken that very seriously, even if it's economically not the best decision. So today, globally, I don't know the exact number in India, but I think it's pretty close. Globally, more than a third of our energy supply is already renewable in our data centers. And it's powered by renewables.
Renewables.
100% renewables.
Okay.
It already is. And so we will continue to do the right thing. Maybe not the best economic thing to use renewables. And at the same time, we are also interestingly using AI to optimize the energy usage in our data centers. And I'm hopeful, I can't say I'm confident, but I'm hopeful that we will see a lot of innovation in energy and chips and other architectures that will reduce the energy consumption per unit of compute and GPUs that is required in the future.
I'm going to switch tracks. This is about leadership. You chose to be the chief AI officer and not appoint one. Why did you decide so? You had less on your plate?
No, not really. For a few reasons.
Right.
One is, if you truly believe that AI is an existential threat or the biggest opportunity for the company, then AI is not a side strategy, it is the strategy of the company. Secondly, if it is the strategy of the company, it is the CEO's job, by the way, to ensure that allocation of resources, and when I say resources, that means both investment dollars as well as talent, is aligned to that strategy. That's what a CEO's job is. And so if we believe that AI is the strategy of the company, and you have to make sure that the allocation of resources of investment dollars and talent mirrors that strategy, effectively that makes it a CEO job.
Right.
Secondly, you can attract better talent because you're hiring as a CEO, not as a separate person as a CIO. You can drive much faster, speedier decision making and break through all the organizational inertia and the roadblocks that are common in big organizations. And frankly, send a very strong signal internally and externally that we take this extremely seriously.
Right. Yeah. So if it comes straight up the top, then obviously people will take it seriously and you're going to live through it to be able to enforce it. I'll have some quick questions, and if you can give me quicker answer, that helps. One global tech trend that's underhyped and one that's massively overhyped.
Well, clearly AI on the last one, although I'm not sure it's overhyped. I think it'll live up to its potential. Underhyped, I would say, is innovation in materials. I don't think we talk about it enough. I think there's going to be incredible innovations in materials that we know about that can enable things that we didn't even imagine were possible.
Any book or idea or even a movie that shaped how you think about technology or even humankind?
You know, the book that has stuck with me a lot is, there was an economist named, I believe his name is Robert Kuttner, who wrote this book, it goes something like, Will Global Democracy Survive Modern Capitalism? So this goes back to the inequality conversation we are having. And it's an economist's take on what's been happening over the course of the last post-World War II and why are we seeing what we are seeing? I mean, it goes back to the 2016 American elections, goes back to Brexit, and a lot of the rise of the populist movements, as well as a lot of the decaying of the support institutions that were around the world, whether it was churches or unions, etc., right? And that it explains a lot, and it's actually quite insightful on why we are where we are, and therefore what we need to do. And will democracy, as we say it, and capitalism as we know it, can the two coexist, or we need something different? And that is the debate happening right now.
If your younger self at IIT Bombay saw your life today, what would surprise him the most?
Gosh, everything. you gotta pinch yourself. I never imagined that I would live and work in 4 continents. I never imagined that I'd have the privilege of being on a global stage like this. But I would say the thing that would surprise me the most is the opportunity I've had to have impact.
Any moonshot idea in AI that excites you personally, even if it sounds futuristic?
Materials, drugs,
All right.
educate. Back to my original idea about how do you really solve for the shortage of medical and educational professionals in underserved communities. I think those are things that really excite me.
Any hype area within AI that you think needs a reality check?
Individual productivity. We have to really educate people on how to be more productive. I think we're rolling out a lot of technologies. We are not enabling whether you're a consumer persona or somebody within an enterprise context, to really take full advantage of these technologies.
So you think people are using less of it, and that's what they're not being
People are
productive.
using a fraction of the capabilities that are out there.
All right. So is it inertia? Is it laziness? Is it sheer fear of technology taking
All
over?
of the above.
All of it. All right. When you visit Jamshedpur now, what's the first thing you do? What do you like to eat there? And what place do you ensure you definitely pay a visit?
To be honest, I make very short trips to Jamshedpur, so I maximize the time spent with my parents who still live there. I only eat what my mom makes because otherwise she would kill me.
Any place that you go back to say, hey, I need to get back to childhood?
It's a school.
It's the school.
I love to go back to the school because those are your formative years. You are who you are because of how you were shaped in those years.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, Abhijit, for taking time out, being so honest and upfront and humane about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.